What's happening, people? And welcome to another episode of Talk That Talk podcast. I'm your host, your boy Tux Topics. Reese is still around. He ain't went nowhere. Just due to scheduling and conflicts, it's just me for now. But still dope issues, still real topics, still for real people. Everything is the same, nothing changes. And today's topic is the treatment of black athletes and has it become acceptable? And it's a topic a lot of people try to ignore because if you don't ignore it, then you can't ignore racism. And as far as the black athlete goes, I always like to remind people that the Major League Baseballs, the NBAs, and the NFL, and things like that, they weren't created for us anyway. From the beginning of time, in order for us to be professionals, we always had to create our own league, create our own lanes, create our own opportunities. And it still goes on today. Yes, they pacify us with money and contracts and all type of other things. But the actual treatment of the black athlete has and always will be one of skepticism, one that involves racism, one that involves you proving yourself first. Whereas white athletes usually have what we like to say is the complexion for affection. You know, they get the pass just based on the color of their skin. And I'm not saying everyone, because of course everyone isn't racist. Every system may have been built upon it, but that doesn't mean that everyone involved is racist. So let's start from just a few numbers. Let's play the numbers game for a minute, right? First, you have the NFL, which started September 17th, 1920 in Canton, Ohio. So from 1920, which, like I just said, which is when it started, from 1946, there were no black athletes. So we're talking a 26-year run before they allowed a black man to enter the NFL. And that would be Kenny Washington and Woody Strode. Those are the two black men that entered at that time. So we're talking a 26-year gap. The NBA, which was originally the Basketball Association of America, which was one league, and the National Basketball League, which was another league, they merged together. And that was 1949. So here you have the mergers of two white leagues in 1949, but the black league, which was considered the Black Fives era. That consisted of where we get the New York Renaissance, or the New York Rens from, which was an all-black team. And that ran from 1900 to 1940. So once again, you have a black league where you're not allowed to play with the whites. And that is basically a 40-year run before they was allowed in. Major League Baseball started in 1903. And they ran until 1947 before Jackie Robinson was allowed in. And we all know that. The stories and the things that Jackie Robinson went through will be told forever because of just systematic racism. So you have to understand that the treatment that we are receiving today as black athletes or just black people in general, I would say comes with the territory. We invited you in only because there was a point in time where we had to, or where they had to, and we're still not accepted. You know, you could play, you can do a lot of things, but you will never be as valuable as your counterparts. Not to remember, there were certain positions that we couldn't even play as black people because we weren't smart enough. Let's not forget that. And now we're the predominantly major factor as far as quarterback go in the NFL. But we can't forget that there was a time where they said we weren't even smart enough to play the position of quarterback. So when you have things like this that's openly being said, why would you expect the treatment to be any different? Have we moved? Yeah, we've come along. But is it acceptable how we are being treated in 2025? No. You still have what I would like to call bullshit, because it's just basically what it is. You have the majority of sports commentators black. It's cool. You can talk about it. You make it sound cool. You add your little hip hop quotes and all of that. You're very marketable because the black dollar is very important. It's very needed. It's very much sought after. So we're going to always incorporate the hip hops and the R&Bs and the look that will attract the black dollar, because that's just what it's basically about, attracting the black dollar and keeping it. So when you have a system that was built off systematic racism, because that's what it is, you're never going to be able to change it as much as you would like to. And that's just what it is. Now, when you have athletes like Aja Wilson, who's pretty much running the whole WNBA, but you can't even concentrate on her because all you hear about, there's Caitlin Clark. And I'm not taking anything away from Caitlin Clark, but let's just be real, people. Caitlin Clark hasn't won anything. She has her own personal accolades, but that's not what you play this sport for. If you wanted your own personal accolades, you should have played tennis or something that is a one-man sport. But they praise her and they hold Caitlin Clark up on this high pedestal, and she hasn't won anything. Now, I don't do the whole Angel Reese comparison and all of those type of things because it's a waste of time. Angel Reese is a champion. Does she get treated like one? No. Will she ever get treated like one? Probably not. Because then it wouldn't support the agenda which they are trying to promote, which is Caitlin Clark. You have to realize, people, at this day and age, that it's about promoting who they want promoted. Angel Reese is a champion. Now, am I saying she's better than Caitlin Clark one-on-one? I wouldn't even care, because nobody watches the game to watch the one-on-one. Only person that will watch a game to watch the one-on-one battles is a person that has an agenda. When fans watch games, it is for our team to win. Not for our team to lose, but for one player to have her own personal accolades, and that's just being truthful. So, when you have things like this that's going on, what do you want us to say? How do you want us to feel? When you have players like Shedeur Sanders being drafted in the 5th round, when he's better than all of the quarterbacks that went before him, how are we supposed to look at that? And then they put out the face narrative, oh, well, it was his attitude and this and that, that's what dropped him. Yeah, you believe so? I personally believe it was the only way you could ever get back at his father. You couldn't do it as a player. You couldn't do anything to him as a player because he was one of the best to do it. And that's just what the problem is. Shedeur Sanders is a cocky black man who knows his worth. And I'm not even going to say cocky because I don't know him to carry himself that way. When I see him in the public's eye, I'm not going to, just make it seem like I've seen him do that. No, because I haven't. When I see him in public, he's usually, the happy-go-lucky kid that he is. So for you to say that his personal character or whatever was in question, that's what dropped him. Okay, let's see. Because you got Jamarcus Russell, Oakland quarterback, drafted first overall, not first round, in 2007. And he was known to have character issues and a lack of passion for the game. Still, first round. 2016, Connor Cook. Even though he dropped down into the draft, he still went 4th round. And he was linked to arrogance. He had personality flaws and lack of leadership. Let's go a step further. Johnny Manziel. Well-documented issues with partying, alcohol abuse, immaturity, and an arrest. Still a first-round pick in 2014. Go a little further. Ryan Leaf lacks inability to adapt to the NFL, immature attitude, and he will be contributing to a difficult career. That's what was all said before he was even drafted. Still did not drop to the last round. Todd Marinovich, drafted and played in the NFL, had drug and alcohol problems. These are all people whose draft stock, even if it moved a little bit, they weren't done like Shedeur Sanders. So when things like this is happening, how are we as black people supposed to feel? Chad Kelly, despite being removed from college due to conduct and had an arrest because of a bar fight, still drafted to the NFL. So when you have these things like this that's going on, and then you see a quarterback like Shador Sanders who has done nothing but proven himself as a player, because once you step onto the field, that is your character. This isn't a guy who's getting 15-yard penalties and being disrespectful to the ref and other players and things like that. So even if, let's just say, he did leave college with a little bit of an attitude or a little bit of a I'm him type of feeling, why should that affect anything? Especially when he's done nothing but prove that he is him as far as college goes. So why should we as black people just sit back and let you feed this narrative that, oh, it was his character? No, it was his father who did the same thing Archie Manning did. Archie Manning voiced that he didn't want his sons going certain places. And not only did he do that, when it was time for Eli to not play for a certain team, he backed him on it. But we sweep that under the rug. Why? Why should Shador Sanders, why should Deion Sanders or anybody else want him to go somewhere where he's not going to be used as an asset, where he's going to be hit so much and driven to the ground so much that he may not get to live out his career? As a father, why would you want your son going there? So you have to think about all of these things. You have a league which celebrates personal accolades whenever it benefits a white person. Because think about it. You have the Charles Barkley, the CP3s, and so many other wonderful athletes, star athletes, Hall of Fame athletes that you can name. And every time their name come up, the narrative is they didn't win it all. But here you have Caitlin Clark and now Cooper Flagg, who's being celebrated like he won an NBA championship already. And understand, people, I'm not against these people. Caitlin Clark is a hell of a player. I'm pretty sure that if I did win one-on-one, it wouldn't be by a lot. And you know? And we both know what's going to happen. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that she's a terrible player. And the shit that she goes through is not really because of her. It's the narrative that's being pushed by the masses, by the fans, by the people that aren't bouncing the basketball. Angel Reese, breaking records right now for rebounding. Nobody's talking about that. That's a personal accolade. But guess what? It's about her team losing. That's what it's about. So at the end of the day, let's do the same thing for all athletes. That's all I'm saying. Let's treat them fair. Is there still racism? Hell yeah. You still have lawsuits dealing with racism in 2025. You still have racist claims with coaches who say they weren't hired in 2025. You still have a number of reasons why you can prove that there's systematic racism in the leagues. Once again, let's deal with the numbers. The National Football League, 32 head coach positions. 32. Out of that, we have 9 head coaches. The NFL has 1,696 players. 53.5% of those players are black. So once again, you have a black league filled up with black players, driven by the black dollar, but coached by white men. Now, I'm not saying that, it's racism. It proved itself. There's no way you're going to tell me that many black players make up that percentage of the league, but they only relate to white coaches. Tell me what you want. Or is that just America, once again, trying to say that black men can't lead, can't be fathers? Same type of scenario. The NBA, you have 30 head coach positions. Out of the 30, 11 of them were black at the beginning of the season. Once again, a league where each team has 450 supposed to be players, the whole league. It's supposed to be 450, but it rounds out to about 525 to 560 players throughout the whole NBA league. Out of those players, 70.4% are black. So once again, 30 head coaches, 11 of them are black, in a league where 70% of the players are black. Major League Baseball, 30 manager positions. 3 of them are black. Dave Roberts with the LA Dodgers, Ron Washington with the Los Angeles Angels, Will Venable with the Chicago White Sox. Now, there's 59 black players as of 2025. 59, which is 6.2% of Major League Baseball. 6.2% of Major League Baseball. And this ain't me talking. These are stats, people. They have a 26-man active roster with a 40-man roster altogether. So 40 men, 26 are active. Out of all of the teams, you have 59 black players in Major League Baseball. But once again, people, these were programs that were not intended for us from the beginning. It was never their intention for us to be a part. But due to what was going on in the rest of the world, they had to let us in. But it will always be a controlled environment until we get our own. Until we form our own leagues, use our own money to build our own organizations, people. We will have to deal with this type of treatment. Numbers don't lie. We're good enough to play the game. We're good enough to run up and down the court and put on a show and entertain people. But guess what? We've been good enough to do all of that since slavery. Don't forget, we were the entertainment during slavery. They've always pitted us against each other. So it's no different than what they're doing now. And then they sit back and they watch the show. And they collect the dollars. And every now and then they'll open the door and let a few of us in and, make us feel like, we're moving up. No, you're not moving up. You're moving along. And the minute you stop moving along, guess what? You'll be moving out. So just realize what it is. Will it change? Who the fuck knows? It's not our organization to run. We all hope for change. But hey, Sam Cooke said the change was going to come. And I guess we'll just keep waiting on it. But for right now, we all know what it is. Pacifiers with the money, few commercials here and there, but you'll never be good enough to run the show because it isn't our show to run. So I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for allowing me a few minutes of your time.